Good evening, and Merry Christmas to all of you again. Now today, as we mentioned at the beginning, we celebrate the Feast of the Holy Family on this first Sunday after Christmas. Now in the Bible, holiness and happiness are the two sides of the same coin. So, when it comes to the Holy Family, if that is true, I think we can safely assume that they were a happy family. A happy family. Even in difficult times, because they had each other. I like to imagine Mary, Joseph, and Jesus laughing a lot, having a great time, playing ball together outside, or whatever they played in those days, but being really happy. That just makes perfect sense. Now, it was the writer Leo Tolstoy who said that every happy family is happy in the same way, but every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. And what Tolstoy was trying to say, I think, is that we are all different. And often when we get it wrong, we do so in limitless ways. The difficulties we face are unique. But when we get it right, it usually follows the same blueprint. It's kind of common to all of us. Maybe that's why it is more difficult to share and understand one another's hardships than it is to share and understand another's joys. Now, the fact that Jesus' family was holy and happy does not mean that everything was perfect, that there was no tensions or challenges. And today's gospel is the best example. That's the only gospel reading that we have in the New Testament that we learn something about Jesus as a boy. And Luke tells us that every year the Holy Family would go to Jerusalem for the feast of Passover. They've done it over and over again. And now Jesus is 12, so they go to Jerusalem again for Passover. They stay there, they celebrate. It's time to go back home to Nazareth. And Luke tells us as they were returning, the boy Jesus remained behind in Jerusalem, but his parents did not know it. My friends, that's not a good sign. It's just not a good sign when your parents do not know where you are and you cannot stay behind. So, Mary and Joseph begin to search for Jesus. They go back to Jerusalem, and after 3 days, they find him in the temple. And Luke tells us, when his parents saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said to him what every parent has said. Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I, we have been looking for you with great anxiety. And Jesus looks at them and says, why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must stay in my Father's house? And then Luke tells us, but they did not understand what he said to them. As if they were saying to Jesus, what are you talking about? And then Luke adds something very interesting at the end of the gospel reading today. He says this, and Jesus from that time on was obedient. And he grew in wisdom. So, even Jesus in today's gospel had to do some growing, as did Mary and Joseph. Certainly, family is a place where we learn and we grow together. Now, in light of this gospel, let me make an obvious statement, a common sense statement that we can easily forget. My friends, the truth is, there are no perfect people. And because there are no perfect people, there are no perfect families. Every family is a collection of imperfect people. And it's a hard lesson to keep in mind because we always think the grass is greener in somebody else's family. You remember when you were a kid? At least sometimes the parents of your friends appeared to be just much more fun, much cooler, and more friendly, and definitely they were fair. And your friends probably felt the same way about your parents. You see, in families, there are disappointments, different emotions, disagreements, hurt feelings. Why? Because families are made of people. And I think it is important to learn how to accept it as part of life and be on some level fine with it. Nobody's perfect. This way, we are not as surprised when we are disappointed because somebody said something or did not say something, or did something, or did not say something. You see, we all have expectations of one another, don't we? Especially in our families. We have expectations of people who are close to us. And all of us at times fail to meet those expectations for one reason or another. And accepting this fact as a given in life is all about the ability to adjust expectations and to be flexible, not rigid, as you go through life. And if I can only do so lovingly, then I leave room for growth and love. And that can be extremely helpful. You see, happy families accept the complications, the difficulty, the messiness of their family relationship realistically. loving people the way they are at that moment, and not the way they think they should be. Now, as we listen to the story of Jesus today, who is lost or left behind in Jerusalem, his parents, Joseph and Mary, have been anxiously looking for him, not for 1 day, not for 2 days, but for 3 days. Can you imagine at night on the second day how challenging it must have been for them to sleep through that night? They don't know where Jesus is. As we look at this Holy Family in today's gospel, you get a sense that there were tensions there as well. Clearly, Mary and Joseph did not understand what Jesus was trying to say to them. But Mary kept all these things in her heart. For sure, Jesus should have mentioned something to begin with about his intention to stay in Jerusalem. Don't you think? He should have said something. Maybe that's why Luke tells us that from that time on, Jesus was obedient and he grew in wisdom. I kind of like to think that Jesus got into trouble as a kid. I don't know why, but it just kind of makes sense to me, you know. And that can be shocking or surprising. However, I find it consoling to know that the Holy Family too faced tensions, disagreements. It just makes them real. It makes them human. It makes them a little bit more like us. I find it consoling to know that they were in some way maybe imperfect. Notice, I did not say sinful, but simply imperfect. But then, I believe that people, by and large, do not expect others to be perfect. Their spouses, children, parents, friends, co-workers, to be perfect. But I do believe that most people do expect us to be honest, forgiving, loving, and kind. Not perfect, but loving. Maybe that's why St. Paul described love the way he did when he wrote his letter to the Corinthians. And this is what he said. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not seek its own interests. It does not brood over injuries. It endures all things, hopes all things, believes all things. So maybe today's gospel on this Feast of the Holy Family reminds us that we are called not to love perfection in others, but to perfect love for others.
Don't forget to follow St. Patrick's on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube. And please join us for any of our live stream masses this weekend. Details are below in the description. God bless you.
Like burning incense, O Lord, let my prayer rise up rise up to you. Like burning incense, oh Lord, let my prayer rise up to you.